All right.
Killswitch Engage just released their first album since 2019's Atonement.
That's been 6 years?
6 fucking years.
Fucking hell. Where does time go?
New album is titled This Consequence. It is 10 songs, 35 minutes. Perfect length for an album.
Yeah,
That's the sweet spot.
Yeah, I'm to the point now, like between like 30 and 40 minutes is my sweet spot. Much longer than that, I don't want to say I get bored, but like I prefer them to be this length.
I do too. And then just like to be able to listen to them. Like I'd rather listen to one really solid album twice than listen to an album with a bunch of filler once.
Cut out the fucking filler. We don't need it anymore. We really don't. Especially in the streaming world, we really honestly don't need the filler anymore.
Some of these OG bands, Metallica,
you need
to take notes.
Yeah. Well, one, I'll even say Machine Head with some of their long ass fucking songs. You can cut it down a little bit, guys.
It's true. So leading up to this album, the band released 2 singles, which already proved to be kind of divisive amongst the fans if you look at the chatter online. Justin and I even haven't really been in agreement so far in our initial talks about this album, but we'll see if either of us have changed our minds with more listens.
Yeah,
so
that we will. Here we go.
Let's get into this thing. The first track is Abandon Us. Right out of the gate, you're getting classic Killswitch, Alive or Just Breathing vibes. It's got this huge soaring chorus, and then we get a guitar solo after only the first verse. So I'm already stoked at this point. A little bit of a spoiler, but Justin, I know you mentioned that you thought this album might be lacking hooks. Do you really think this song is not catchy?
Well, I mean, I don't know yet.
Dude,
it gets right into it after a little build. The chorus seems very personal to Jesse. Technically speaking, his cleans throughout the chorus are strong, but I feel like they're missing some of the kind of the grit. They're almost kind of too clean for me. It's an okay opener. I don't mind it.
Like this was one that on second listen, I could already sing along, which to me meant this is catchy.
It's got a hook. Yeah, fair enough. I can see that.
Then from there, they get into Discordant Nation. I don't remember the last time the band has sounded this heavy, in all honesty. Those blast beats, man, like,
shit.
Jesus. Like, I haven't nailed down a favorite track yet from this album, but this one is definitely up there on the list. I need a few more listens before I nail down a favorite.
For me, this track was a very harsh transition from the last track, which had mellowed out near the end. And then this one comes just screaming in from the first second. But once you get beyond that, we have, as Jason mentioned, some very heavy blast beats and some intensity. Solid guitar work from Adam D, but something's kind of missing. It's not clicking for me yet on this album.
All right. So Aftermath is next. We got big Swedish Melodeath vibes to kick this one off. Again, another big hook on this song. You hear that, Justin? I'll be talking more about it, but Jesse is a big part of what makes this album so great, in my opinion. His range has gotten infinitely better over the years, and to me, he's never sounded better. The highs that he's hitting with his screams are just absolutely visceral. Like, he could do some deathcore stuff if he wanted to, or even some death metal stuff with these highs that he's hitting.
Yeah, this song mellowed way out, and it would have been a better transition from the first track into this one rather than Discordant Nation. The melodic opening doesn't last long, though. It blasts into the song. There's a big, clean chorus with the lyric, "We're reeling from the aftermath, still bleeding from the damage of the past." It's very relatable, dealing with past trauma. Lyrically, there seems to be a lot of pain on this album from Jesse.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we love about Killswitch is both Jesse and Howard always seem to wear their heart on their sleeves.
Yeah.
And what they're feeling always comes through in the music. So I love that. Forever Aligned is the next track. This was the first single released, and it got me pretty pumped because of the sheer level of aggression. It was just a side of the band that I felt had been missing for a while. It ended up being pretty indicative of the overall sound of this album.
Yeah, this was, as you mentioned, the first single. I didn't really feel it when it first came out, but in the context of the album, it's the first song that stood out for me when I listened to it as a whole. The chorus is huge and clean. It's countered with a frantic pace to everything throughout the verses. Definitely understand why this was the first single now. That chorus is very, very catchy. There is a hook there. I can't deny it. And I love the guitar riff that Adam D does throughout that chorus.
Yeah, this one's old school to me, man. It
Yeah.
sounds so good. From there, we get into I Believe. Feel Good Anthem of the Year. This is as close as you're going to get to another End of Heartache, in my opinion. This stands out in the middle of a pretty aggressive and dark album. Jesse's channeling his inner Howard here, and he's pulling out these big, soulful vocals. I love this song. I know Justin's about to say something completely different.
Am I?
But I love this fucking song.
This was the second single, and I did not like it when it first came out, but now it stands out on the album. The opening lyric, covering the truth inside us, giving into spite, self-inflicted paranoia, hindering our sight. So, in other words, don't get caught up in those echo chambers that you see on social media. Shit will always get better if you don't dwell in the negative. I Believe has also a really good hook to it. And it is another standout on the album.
Fuck yeah. All right. Where It Dies. So I was actually re-listening to this on the way home today because we made a frantic drive from Epcot here to get here and record with Justin today. And I couldn't help but just bang my head immediately when this song started. It was involuntary. More blast beats, more groove, a little bit of hardcore flavor in the mix, and a super tasty solo on this one. Great track.
This is the first time I felt Stank Face coming on listening to a Killswitch album in a long time. The middle of this album seems to be where the meat is. I like how they speed it up in the verses and then pull it back, leading into that cleanish chorus. There's a little screaming solo from Adam D. Lyrically, again, it's very deep, dealing with someone who had completely changed and you're tired of defending their actions. You have the lyric, you drowned in your misery, you now are dead to me. This is where it dies. Suffer my vengeance. This is the Killswitch I love. When I first spun this album, this song is the one that started to kind of turn it around for me.
All right. I like to hear that. So Collusion is next. This is, at least in my opinion, heaviest track on the album.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Musically, it's my favorite on the album. Justin Foley is just putting in work on the drums here.
Yeah, I am.
I'll also mention that Jesse hit some lows on here that I've never heard from him before because Adam usually does the lows. And I could be wrong. If I am, comment. I'm almost 99% sure this is Jesse because it sounds different. And it is deep, and it is fucking low. It sounds sick.
So I was going to ask you, sometimes it's hard to tell, is it Adam or is it Jesse doing these gutturals? I really don't know. We expect it to be Adam. It's
usually Adam. I really feel like on this one, I think this was Jesse, but I could be wrong, and I'm sure there's a super fan out there somewhere that might find this video, so let me know.
Let us know.
Tell me I'm stupid. That's okay. I don't mind. But it sounds like Jesse. It doesn't sound like the typical Adam D, gutturals that we hear on every album. This stood out. It jumped out at me like, holy shit.
Yeah. And speaking of Adam D, he's got a really cool riff that echoes throughout this track. And about 2 minutes in, they get into straight just death metal for a second. This is good stuff. This is a heavy-ass track.
It caught me off guard. I'm not going to lie. I was like, where did that come from?
For sure.
The Fall of Us is next. I'll be honest, this is one of the songs that doesn't necessarily stand out for me.
What?
But I don't skip it. It sounds good with the rest of the album. For me, I think the bridge is my favorite part of the song. That slow build up, and then you get the little whispered vocals leading into a quasi breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad track. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to stand out in an album like this when there's so many other solid songs.
This track is just nasty to me. This is the heaviest Killswitch has ever been, in my opinion. You got demon riffing and blast beats and gutturals all into a clean but not overdone chorus. It still has this chaotic ferocity of music behind it. I fucking love The Fall of Us. This is a good track.
A Broken Glass. I absolutely love the big, chunky riffing to start this song out.
Yeah.
This is another one where Justin Foley really stands out. The song is just low, slow, and filthy. I really like this song, but I'd actually be interested to hear it without any clean vocals. Also, they stop short of a full breakdown at the end of this song. Fucking cock teases, man.
Teasing you.
God damn.
Man.
I was waiting for it and then just abrupt stop.
The opening to this track is just fucking crazy. Who pissed Jesse off? Someone deeply, deeply hurt him. To me, this could have been a movie trailer for like a John Wick movie, hunting down the people that fucking did him wrong. It's a very, very intense track. Broken Glass is another standout on the album.
So Requiem is next. Nice high energy thrasher to close this one out. This song also has the best solo of the whole album, in my opinion. So I do want to dig deeper into the lyrics, especially on this song, which it seems like Justin's actually for once got a little deeper than me, even, and picked up on some things that I didn't. But this particular song feels like it's lyrically heavy, but I haven't caught everything yet. So I'm really curious to see what Jesse chose as the song to kind of close this out lyrically, because there's definitely a message going on throughout this album. And yeah, I'd be curious to see what he's got to say here, because I did not catch it all.
So lyrically, we have Emerge from the Pain Again. I swear this is not the end. This is our Requiem. It reminds me of how they closed with Rise Inside so many years ago. It leaves hope at the end of a very, very dark album.
That's what Jesse's good at, man.
Yep.
So what'd you think of this album overall, man?
So this album overall, I've given it 7 or 8 spins now because of the respect and love I have for this band. And it seems to be getting better the more I listen to it, but it wasn't initially very accessible to me. It seems to be more of a deeply personal album for the band and doesn't always make for the funnest experience to listen to until you really start to break down what's being said lyrically by Jesse. I'm catching more with each listen, and that could change how I feel about some of these songs. Something isn't completely clicking with those first few tracks for me, but I enjoy it a little more with each listen, and the album really starts to kick into pace about 4 or 5 tracks in. Right now, I give this a 5 out of 6, but I'll revisit that later this year to see if it goes up a little bit more. My initial listen, if you would have asked me after the first time I listened to this album, I probably gave it like a 2 or a 3. Like, I didn't like it at all. Like, there was just something very off about it that I just wasn't vibing with. But the more I listened to it, the more lyrics I started to pick up on. The more I started to pick up on Adam D's guitar work he's doing, and Justin and the drums and stuff like that. And it's just like, it's a really good album, man. It's definitely worth checking out.
It's a really good album. Yeah.
If I had to rank it right now, man, I don't know if I'd put it above Disarm the Descent for number 3, but it's either number 3 or number 4 all time for me on this band's list. And
that's solid.
24 hours ago, if you would have asked me, it would have been near the bottom.
So
like, it's moving up the more I listen to it.
In contrast, my first listen, like, if you put a gun to my head and said, rate this album, I would have gave it a 6 out of 6.
Ooh.
Here's where I'm at now.
Ooh.
Overall, I think if Jesse never left the band, this is the album that would have come after Alive or Just Breathing.
You're right. 1,000% about that.
This is the album I've wanted ever since Jesse returned to the band, and they finally delivered it. This is the second best album with Jesse's vocals on it, and it's my 3rd favorite album overall from the band. It's not perfect, but it's really fucking good. This one's a 5 out of 6.
5 out of 6. Third.
So we started on opposite ends and we met.
I think we met in the same spot because I pretty much rank it, I would say, 3rd as well. You know what I mean?
We went in with
maybe
opposite
4th,
bias.
but yeah.
Like, I was like, this is going to be the best album I ever heard. And you're like, this is going to be a garbage album. And then we're like, oh, this is a great fucking album.
It's just more and more I start to pick up on the lyrics. And I sent you a screenshot of something that Jesse had said about the album where he was really talking about how deeply personal it all was. And after I read that, I thought about that, and it was like, man, I need to look deeper into what he's saying on this album, because I'm definitely missing something. What am I missing here? You know, this is a band I absolutely love. And I love them lyrically more than anything else. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I love the music. So Like the more I dove into these lyrics, as I've listened to it more and more, the more I like the album. I mean, this could potentially move up even further on the list for me. It's going to be hard to pass Alive or Just Breathing and End of Heartache. Like it'll never pass End of Heartache, but.
And for this year, it's going to be hard to pass All That Remains.
God, it's tough.
And actually, when I went to rate this, I was like, how much do I like this in compare? Like, which one am I going to listen to more?
I'm still going to listen to ATR.
It was ATR.
There's something more fun about ATR.
It's the guitar work.
But man, like lyrically, this is such a happy album. Jesse said this album took a lot out of him to write, and the more I listen to it, I get it.
I'd be interested for us to do a quick revisit of this later in the year, just to see where we land. I mean, we're going to anyway. Chances are it's going to be on at least one of our final list of the year. But
and if it's not, it's an honorable mention, and we'll definitely talk about it. There's no way it's not at least an honorable mention at the
but
year.
I have not stopped. The only time I stopped listening to it was when I unboxed my Day to Remember vinyl and listened to that twice.
Fair.
So other than that, I've been on this. So.
I didn't even finish my release radar on Spotify this week. It's been just trying to understand this album more, and the more I listen, the more I understand. So,
but interesting that you mentioned that, because that's a side of things we don't often consider as fans, because we're selfish in a way. We know what we want from a band. We know what our favorite things are that they do, and we want them to do all of those things that we want.
Mm-hmm.
And we're one person. There's other people that want something completely different from that same band. What does the band want? What's important to them?
Exactly.
Like, what makes them feel good when they're recording? So, I think the fact that he went out and said, and made that statement, it does make you look at it a little different. You're like, well, this ain't some shit that this dude phoned in. Like, he felt all this, and this was, he went through something recording it. Like, let's see what the man's got to say. Maybe one of the positive things of social media, having that accessibility to the artist, what their thoughts are and stuff. Because a lot back in the day, you just get an album, you don't know what the hell.
You have no idea.
Yeah,
and now you have a little bit more access, and that's the consequence of social media. So check out Killswitch Engage's new album, This Consequence. Don't judge it by the first listen. Dive in deep to them lyrics. Jesse's got a lot to say here. Somebody really fucked him over. That's what I'm getting out of it. And it's a really good listen. Musically, there's a lot going on too. So check it out. Killswitch Engage, This Consequence. Let us know what you think.